Attributes are most commonly added to the system automatically. Whether from an import of data or synchronization with another system like Shopify, many users have complete working systems without ever manually adding or editing attributes. Indeed, in this example system, most of the attributes were created during the import of a CSV file. Taking the headers of the file for the attribute names and examining the data underneath each header to determine the type, PimSimple added most of these automatically. However, you can of course add attributes manually, so let's do this now. Let's add a new attribute by clicking the New Attribute button. The first thing we need to do is give the attribute a name, and crucially, this needs to be unique. So let's call our attribute German description. Next, we need to set the scope of the attribute. This basically tells the system whether the attribute is a parent or child attribute. A simple example of the difference would be something like a t-shirt. It will have a description, style code, and material content that is consistent across any variation, and because of that, these attributes would be described as parent attributes. Conversely, things like color and size change across the various SKUs that exist for this one parent product. Therefore, color and size would be child attributes. Fortunately, our demo system isn't that complicated, so we'll leave it as a parent attribute. Next, we have to set the type of the attribute. There are 5 types in the system. String. This is used for any length of text, from a simple code through to a lengthy description. Association. This allows you to create an association between products and media. This can be used for images, line drawings, text sheets, logos, videos, and so on. You set a rule for each association below. You need to explain to the system how the media links to this attribute. So let's say we wanted to make a logo association. I'll assume that the logo's file name contains the brand attribute, so we can add that to the rule, like so. I can choose to ignore file extensions in rare instances that the extension clashes, and I have a brand called something like JPEG. I can use separators in the file name to associate a single media file to multiple products. I can set the rule for matching the attribute value in the media file name, so in my example, I choose a simple contains. When the system links the media, I can let the system automatically select media with options for no images, the first image it finds, or all images it finds from that selection. And finally, I can set which product in the group the media will be associated with. So if I clicked Save Now, I'd have an association for a logo. It's that simple. But we're going to stick to our German description, so let's just quickly look at the other types. We have Boolean types for simple yes/no or true/false answers, datetime for typing dates and/or times, and finally numbers. So we'll leave it as a string, and the next option is to give the attribute a description. Doing this adds a small tagline underneath the attribute on the product details screen, so it can aid and inform the user. AI mode is discussed in the next lesson, Lesson 12. IsKey means the attribute contains potentially unique information that other data relies on. Inherit values allows you to have multiple products with some data that varies and some that changes. So an example might be that you have the same product twice in your system. It has a description for one business area in one category, and a completely different description for another. But whilst you want the flexibility of the same product being described differently for different uses, you want the price to remain consistent. If you tick this box for your price attribute, changing price in one place will change it in the other instances. Reset on update is used for workflow. An example might be a ready for website attribute. If something changes on the product, that would reset this ready for website attribute, and it would need to be manually ticked again to approve it. Parent and child sort are used to automatically order products on screen. So you might choose a product code to be the parent sort attribute, so they're always shown in code order. Or price as the child sort attribute, so the child products are displayed in price order. Display list allows you to make the attribute a choice list. Display HTML makes the text area a rich text area with an HTML editor. Display password shows the text data as dots on screen, so it's not viewable. Display text area shows the text as a large editable area instead of a smaller string area, so I'm going to tick this. Display URL makes the text a clickable URL. Then finally we have the constraints we can put on the attribute. It can be set as read-only. Have any line breaks or returns removed automatically. Be a required attribute, that is, you can't leave it blank. You can make it unique. You can put a list of permitted values to force the user to enter the correct values. This is especially useful when you have ticked Display List. You can set a minimum and maximum length for a string, or minimum or maximum value for a number. And finally, if you're a super geek, you can enter some regular expression or regex at the bottom to format and force values into the attribute. But that's way too complicated for this video. If you fancy getting your hands dirty with regex, I'd suggest Googling some online courses. So whilst that was a lot of options to cover, essentially all I've done is type a name, ticked a box to make it larger on the screen, clicked Save, and if we go to our products, we can see we've added a new attribute called German Description. I hope you managed to keep up with all those options. There is a lot to take in, but most attributes are automatic, and most manual attributes can be added in seconds. So, whilst it has a lot of options, it's actually very simple. Please check out the other videos to learn more.